This is FNGR, and today we have a discussion with Brony Realm Jumper. He asked if he could be heard about his personal experiences with abuse that date back when he was 8. He is now 24. And though sharing his story from a first-hand experience perspective might be useful to anyone out there, as there's a lot of people out there who are hearing a lot of different things, mostly, if not entirely exclusively from people without medical experience or first-hand knowledge. Disclaimer, Realm Jumper, nor I, nor anyone in the podcast is medically certified. If you're going through some severe mental or physical trauma of a sexual nature, please contact the appropriate authorities. I will be including a link for online safety in the description. Special thanks to Devai Kali Tara for supplying it. I don't agree with everything that Realm Jumper has to say, and despite his channel not being the most massive thing in the fandom, I always like to give the platform to people despite the size of their channel when they have something relevant to say. I'm not suggesting that Realm's advice will be one size fits all, but it might help you. It's a very adult topic, it's a very serious matter, so if you start to feel uncomfortable, I won't blame you if you turn off. However, if you find that what you heard is very important, please like and share the video. Full disclaimer, I did have a discussion with Performance Major along with Solar Flare, who, if you remember him from the Toon Critic video, The Confession, Lilac Galaxy, who's done some artwork for this channel, as well as been on many fun podcasts, Rockamoo, who's dating Luximus, who's rocking the moo, and also the most talented person to have ever worked for I Love Kim Possible a lot, samoht-lion, who's the gentleman who does the BronyCon badges as well as the shadow box art, Midnight Anubis from the commentary community, and there is one more individual, but he chooses to remain anonymous. God be willing, if the editing holds up, it should remain that way. That video will hopefully be out next week. I still need to get to the next half of the last Brony Beatdown, covering the art community. There's a good 30 to 40 minutes of that, but yeah, the wheels keep turning and I'm just trying to keep up. Please enjoy.
It only makes you think about it even more. Basically makes you relive it more, to the point where, at least in my own experience, there were times where I put myself through the trauma of, in my own imagination, reliving what happened to me to remind myself of why am I hating this person? Why am I never going to forgive this person? And so you spend all your time dwelling on the feeling, and to the point where you have to remind yourself, why are you even feeling that? And when I say forgive, I don't mean the obligatory of, oh, you screwed up, it's okay, I forgive you. It's a bit more to it. I can't remember exactly who said it, but I've heard this a couple times. Forgiveness is earned.
Yeah, it's been said a couple.
And to a very good degree, I do believe that. Okay. Being religious, I do believe what how Josh Scorcher put it. When Christians say forgive, we mean we do what we can about it, and then after that we put the rest in God's hands.
Okay.
Or for those of us who are religious and believe all that, we do that, and then we let him take care of it, and we move on with our lives.
Okay, I understand that. Well, just one sec, since I did start recording. This is sure. FNGR, aka Anthony Aguilar. I am talking with, how do you wish to be identified, sir?
Oh gosh, I've had so many names in the past. Let me list off a few of them.
Well, let's go with the most active. And by the way,
most active is on YouTube. I am Realm Jumper. On FimFiction, I am I Write Ponies.
Okay, I Write Jumper. Did I say it right?
Realm Jumper
Jumper.
I Write Ponies.
Okay, so what the hell did I say?
You can just call me by my first name. I don't care.
Okay, what's your first name then?
Joshua.
Okay, Joshua, Realm Jumper, I Write Ponies. You said that you were originally a victim of abuse when you were 8, correct? And,
that is correct.
Yeah, and you also said that basically you've had to float between trying to find ways of just getting over it, and that wasn't... The way I would probably interpret this, again, I'm a layman, not a doctor, don't have a medical degree. I would assume that there is no one-size-fits-all, that there is no cure-all that can be applied to a template because people are just simply different. And right now you're sharing your personal experiences so that if anyone listens in, they can find something that might be working for them if what they are already trying right now at this point in time isn't.
Yeah, pretty
Excellent.
much.
Wunderbar.
All right. So do you want me to just kind of go into less strict graphic detail of where I've been up to this point? That way the viewers could understand how I can say that I've been a victim.
How well your memory holds up from the beginning, please.
Oh, gosh. All right. Time to bring up some repressed memories a little bit. Long story short, my mom and dad divorced when I was 8, and it was something where it had to happen for the safety of us kids. We didn't know at the time, but my dad was very abusive and very dangerous to be around. So, and this is really how it happened. Is I remember just one day being called to the office in 3rd grade, basically told, "Hey, you gotta come up to the front. Your mom's gonna pick you up." And I got in the car, and Mom said, "When we get home, you only have an hour to pack. After that, we're going to Grandma's." Grandma lived, 8 hours away in Sacramento, and I asked, "When are we coming back?" She said, "Never." So that's kind of what spurred the whole us, getting out of the bad territory. However, the courts ruled that there should be some partial custody when it came to me. So me being on year-round school, I spent 3 months with my mom for the school year, and then with the 1 month that I had off, I spent with my father. During that, and it only happened 1 month, because after that, when everything came out, I never saw him again. But during that 1 month, every single day, either while I was starting to fall asleep, or because of other things like having to take a shower with him, or even with some of the graphic things that he watched on the TV and things like that, I was sexually and mentally, one, I guess with that physically, abused for an entire month. And the thing is, I never knew that it was wrong. I knew that it didn't feel right, but I never really knew that it was wrong until 3 months later, when my mom was making the arrangements for me to go back to visit him, and I just kept on saying I didn't want to go. I'm very grateful that my mom knew enough about the abusive personality of my dad. It's a little hard for her not to. She actually recounted a couple times that she had actually been choked out by him because of whatever reason. But I'm very grateful that my mom could recognize that there was just something more to I didn't want to go, other than I didn't want to leave my mom. And from that point on, I never saw him. I never had contact with him, even though that he sent letters and packages. My mom always intercepted those. She always read those first, and when I was old enough, she sat down with me, told me what they were, and read them aloud with me, so I could see that my dad was a evil man. All the letters basically spoke about how he was not in the wrong. Everybody else was in the wrong. My mom was evil, and that the world hated him. And so I basically grew up hating this person, because in the beginning, I didn't even know why I was hating him. And then, of course, going through therapy, having to rehash what happened to me in much more graphic detail over and over and over again. and just how each time it's almost like something new was brought up. Like, example, he actually took me to go see the movie Jurassic Park Lost World when it first came out, which PG-13 when, a kid's 8, 9 years old, okay, that's a little sketchy. But then we stayed for the second movie because it was one of those drive-in theaters where it had a double feature. The second movie was called Mimic. I don't know if anybody has seen the movie. Well, I'm sure somebody has. But basically, it was about what would happen if scientists gave cockroaches lungs. And they basically grew to these massive proportions and took over the subway. And it was kind of like the really old black and white movie where you had the giant ants and the people had to go in and destroy the ant hive. Same type of thing, only it was very graphic, rated R, and I hid underneath a blanket in the back seat the entire time. I was crying the majority of the time, but he just sat there watching it. And, up through high school, I had nightmares about that movie. So a lot of times when people are like, why don't you watch rated R movies? I was kind of forced to / held hostage in my dad's car watching through a rated R movie. That's what I associate with rated R movies or horror movies in general. So that's part of the reason why I don't like that. But back to the main point of why am I sharing all this? I have been in the shoes very much of what the victims of Toon Critic or whatever he's going by now, like New Horizons or something. But I've been in the victims' shoes. I've lived in those shoes since I was 9.
No, you did say that you'd faced abuse more beyond just a mental nature, correct?
Well, yeah, it was a lot of it was physical, things happening to me while I slept, and that in between stage of sleep where you're awake enough that you're aware of what's around you, but you're not awake enough to actually open up your eyes and do something. During that time, I was molested, and there were many times where I was not really forced to, but more coerced to taking showers with him. And of course, that led to other things that are a little too graphic to discuss here.
Okay, no, I understand.
And I was actually introduced to pornography by him because he would watch pornographic videos on the TV in the actual house. And he wouldn't care if I watched. I remember coming into the living room and laying down my favorite spot on the floor and basically watching a video where it was on the Playboy channel of these guys at a strip club, and this guy paid this girl money, and she basically just pulled down whatever she was wearing on the top and basically showed it all to the world. And I remember that. And I remember my dad not even saying anything of you're not supposed to be here watching this or anything like that. He just didn't care. So, that's the experience that I'm coming from. Okay. When I say that I was a victim and I know what it's like to be a victim. And why I actually made a as you pointed out, a poorly volumed video of a little bit of my experience more in a nutshell, and what I thought of how a lot of people have been reacting to what we should do either as a community or more towards the victims, what advice to give on how to handle what happened with Toon Critic and everything like that. And having been there, a lot of what they said was, to be perfectly honest, it pissed me off. And that's why I wanted to say anything in the beginning.
Yeah, I think you did just fine now. Again, I can't speak to your last video because the volume's a bit low. I was like, okay, I'm literally got this thing jammed up as high as the volume that YouTube will go and as high as the computer go. I mean, I could have jammed up the TV volume as well, but I was like, if he's really that worried about it, maybe it's best I don't hear until I have a word with him.
Well, and as I said, on one of your last videos, your business as usual, How Not to Brony 65, I basically, in my video, because I actually tried recording several times and then in the end decided, you know what, I'm just going to reread what I basically sent to you, or what I commented on your video. And why I wanted to actually talk about it was not so much of, oh, I made a video, nobody really saw it, I want to tell more people about this, but with what's come up because of your latest video about Performance Major.
That I'd like to alert everyone in the audience as the time of this video, his YouTube and Twitter are back up. I can't speak to when it comes back out. He might end up taking it back down again. I did back up 2 of his videos at this time.
But because of what he's said, I feel like not necessarily my stance needs to be different, but the way that I address it, because I feel like it needs to be addressed, needs to be radically different than how I've addressed Toon Critic. And I guess this is probably the best reason of why. The best reason of why is with Toon Critic, I'm not talking about Toon Critic's actions or what he's done. That's already been hashed out so many times, there's no point in talking more about it. Everybody already knows what there is about it, and everybody already has their opinions on it. I wanted to speak mainly to the victims of somebody coming from that dark hole that they are in right now. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and how it was that I got through the tunnel, hoping that my experience, my story, my trials could help them through it. As for how that needs to change with talking about Performance Major, I'm not speaking to Performance Major's victims. I want to speak to the community, because the thing is, not a whole lot of people know this unless you've been in the RP community a whole lot. But what he's talking about of, oh, I've RP'd with minors from time to time, I've encountered some minors who say that they've RP'd with older people more than once. So it's kind of like, this is a matter of somebody needs to get, smacked around to basically show this is not acceptable. I'm not speaking to the victims, therefore having to be careful with how I say things. I'm speaking more to the stupid people who are doing this, and to anybody else who may know of a stupid person who's doing this, that this is unacceptable and this can't be accepted. Because the thing is, if somebody had have known what was happening to me during the time that it was happening to me, and they chose not to do anything, while I've learned to forgive my father for his actions, I will never forget that. It would take me much longer to forgive somebody who knew that it was going on and chose not to do anything, And that would be something that even if I got to that point of I could forgive you, I could never associate with you. I could never even be in the same room as you because, well, yes, in my own way, I've forgiven you. You've lost any chance there ever has been that I would even remotely trust you around anybody that I care about. And I think that a lot of people were saying we can't forgive Toon Critic or anything like that because they automatically associate, if I forgive him, I'm giving him back my trust. That's not true. When you forgive somebody, or at least this is how I understand forgiving somebody, when you forgive somebody, you're letting go of that hate, that anger, that ill will towards that person. You, however, are not giving back that trust. You cannot give back that trust until they've earned it. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's a lot to take in. I think you guys can unmute now.
Okay.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a casual conversation, but then he got on a roll, and I said, I should start recording this now, if you're comfortable with that. And he said, yeah, let's...
Oh.
Let me introduce you around the room there. That's Kikyo. There's some meme about her having big boobs. I don't understand it myself. That's my cat star. She got annoyed at me calling her cat star.
No, I'm still okay with you calling me cat. I don't care at this point.
And that's Luximus. That is the single most talented person to have ever worked for KP. And Mikage will fight me for that. Okay. Okay. Wow. That is a lot to take in. Again, I'd like to, for anyone listening in, no one in this call is asserting to be a medical professional. These are just some advice that you might find useful in the meantime.
This is advice from somebody who's basically been through over 20 years of pain and have now actually gotten to the point where I can say I'm over it and I'm not letting it control my life anymore. So I'm just speaking from my own personal experience. I know that there's going to be somebody out there who says, well, I went through this and the advice that you're giving me is bullcrap. You know what? As FNGR said earlier, it's not a one-size-fits-all. This is just what I found worked for me after 20 years or more of struggling. So I just thought that if there was any time to share it, this would be the time to share it.
Now,
and
you were speaking out against specifically friends that were just deciding to keep quiet, that knew about people like this as well, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what really needs to be done here. I understand if guys in the audience, if you got a friend, you just like, oh, it's my eccentric friend with a tick. I would really consider as strongly as I possibly could that you start telling other people about that. So if you don't feel comfortable ratting them out, yeah, tell someone who does. Like me.
Let me put it in this point. If you have brothers or sisters, younger brothers or sisters, or even older brothers and sisters, you have siblings that you care deeply about. I know right there's going to be some people who are like, well, actually, but point is family.
Yeah.
You have somebody that you care about. If you know of somebody who is either ERPing, actively texting someone who is much younger than them, or in contact with somebody who is much younger than them in a way that doesn't feel right, say something. Because it's better to be overly protective and be wrong than not say anything and have that younger person get hurt because of it. Because how would you feel if you knew that something was happening to your own sibling, your own flesh and blood? Something like that was happening, and that there was somebody who could have stopped it if they had of just made the point to just say something, and they chose not to. I mean, hey, if that was the case, and say, I'm the youngest out of 7. But if what happened to me happened to one of my older siblings, and I knew that there was somebody who could have stopped it from happening by just saying something, and they didn't, I really would like to kick them in the balls a few dozen times.
That could be the title of the podcast.
A kick to the balls a few dozen times.
Yes.
A kick to the balls.
I wonder if that'll get through on Ed Friendly.
Well, you know what? There is a channel, an animation channel, that, no joke, I think the name of the channel is A Goat to the Cooch.
Okay. Well then.
I highly recommend that channel because it is, if you like, nut-cracking jokes or just getting kicked between the leg jokes, it is hilarious.
I thought you were about to say if you like getting kicked between the legs, and I was like, there are such people, believe it or not. That is a fetish somewhere, sir. It is not one I have.
No, so it's high heels and crunching things. I don't understand that one either.
I'm
gonna pretend I didn't know what you were talking about there, but unfortunately I did.
I'm gonna pretend also that I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Just gonna pretend that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's why I'm speaking out.
Okay. I'm going to assume that was on a top 10 video somewhere. Anyways.
Hold on.
Lordy. How are you, Dark Edge? You can unmute now.
Good.
If you'd like. Yeah. Okay. Was there anything else you needed to cover living before I hit stop on the record, or?
Well, just if anybody, well, yeah, actually there is a few things. I know this is probably going to go on and on and on because I don't know how to shut my mouth. So
no, you've done really good. You're fine.
But to kind of address what I meant by a lot of the advice that I was listening to with what people were saying either to the community or to the victims about what happened with Toon Critic. A lot of people were talking about you should never forgive. Or they were even taking the presumptuous thing of, I could never forgive this person of this. And a lot of times these are people who, let's be honest, other than the fact that they are bronies or pagan sisters as well, they were not at all involved in anything that was going on. And these were people who were apologizing. I, being a victim in the past, I can't tell you how many times I just started shutting up and keeping all my feelings, both the good and the bad, to myself because I was so tired of people apologizing for something they were not involved with. Like, all right, there's times where you can apologize, and then there's times where it's not appropriate to apologize. For example, say, and this is going to be a big example, you just lost a member of your family. Or actually, no, this is, let's scale it back a little bit so people could understand a little bit more. Say your pet just died. Mm-hmm. Either, however, your pet just died. For a certain time, it's okay to say, oh, I'm sorry that your pet died. That's understandable. That's help giving support. But you know what? After about 3 months, just saying, oh, yeah, I have a new dog because, my old dog passed away. Oh, I'm so sorry your pet died. Dude, it happened 3 months ago. I'm over it. Or I would be over it if people would stop bringing it up. So it's like, at that point, it's not okay to apologize for it, because then you're just, I want to give sympathy, but I don't know how else to give sympathy other than I'm sorry. And after a while, the word I'm sorry just loses its flavor. And so that was part of it. But another part of it is there are so many people who were going on with the I can't forgive, you shouldn't forgive, he should be hated forever, he should rot in hell, all this other things. And the reason why, as a victim, I can tell you that kind of mentality doesn't work is because when you think angry thoughts, and this is actually something that I don't know if it got into the recording when we first were doing things, but F and GR was telling that after a while you start forgetting why you hate somebody. So to remind yourself of why you hate somebody, you relive that traumatic event. And every single time you relive that traumatic event becomes more and more and more a part of your life, to the point where I can't perform this thing because this happened to me. I can't move forward with my life and have a steady job because I break down every 3 months because this has happened to me. I can't have good grades in school because I have to relive every few weeks what happened to me, and therefore I have to break down because I can't forgive this person. I'm not allowing myself to say, you know what? He screwed up, but he's no longer a part of my life, and I'm not going to let this take over my life and move on. Because here's the thing, and this is something that I don't think many people even realize, is when you forgive somebody, you're not saying it's okay. You're saying, I'm not letting you control my life anymore. You did this thing to me. This was an event. I'm moving past. I'm forgetting you. I'm putting you in the past. Not forgetting, because I can't trust somebody like that again, but I'm putting it in my past and I'm moving on. By forgiving, you are releasing your active hatred, your malice, and your ill will towards that person or want of revenge to move on with your life and do better things. You're putting it behind you. And so that's why a lot of people say forgiveness is more for the forgiver than the offender. Because you're basically saying, look, if I hold on to this hatred, I'm going to do stupid things, down the road because it's going to mess me up. That's only going to prolong the power that the offender has over me. But if I give that up, I can move down the road and I can actually be free of this hatred, of whatever guilt I might feel by being a victim, because victims do have guilt or feel guilt because that's just how the world works. After a while, the world just starts blaming the victim, and that only makes the victim feel more guilty and make it harder for them to let go. So all this talk about hate, have him rot and burn in hell, that doesn't help the victim at all, and it doesn't help the community at all. Where are we going to be if the Brony community is still around, say, 3 or 5 years from now? How can we say that we've grown if the 3 or 5 year mark, we're still talking about Toon Critic, how he's either in jail or not in jail, and that he should rot in hell, and that nobody should forgive him? Can we say that we've moved on? No, we can't. Because even during that time, Toon still has the power that he had over his victims, over everybody. And whether or not he knows of it, we're still letting him destroy any kind of good that we would have had left. So that's why I say we need to forgive him. Forgive is not giving trust back. Forgive is not forgetting what he did. Forgive is letting go of those angry feelings and saying, good riddance to him. Let's move on and let's grow and be better. Now, as for performance major, dude, you're screwed up. Nobody should be ERPing with any minor whatsoever, because let me tell you, whether it is in picture form or in verbal form or in text form, any sexual content that deals with a minor is illegal. It just is. And here's the thing is, and he actually brought this up in his own video of, he said there was one point where Toon asked for nudes, but he didn't get any, but that he asked for it is not illegal.
That's actually soliciting a minor. It is. Yes. Yep.
Exactly.
Well, okay. Let's preference this on there. Technically, that's legal advice, but in all likelihood, that we encourage you to look up your local state. That one is probably not on the level. It's very, very look up your local state. Again, I don't have anything in front of me on that, but it would reason to believe. From what I've heard, and you could actually, I would probably contact a lawyer or for at least a law student. But moving on. But
even when it comes to text role playing, anything that's sexual is considered porn. And here's the thing: is when people say porn, they think videos or movies. It's a little bit more than that because I believe that if you look up the actual definition of porn, it's any kind of material that is sexually arousing, basically. So if that's the case, whether or not people mean it, when you ERP somebody and you're getting off on it and that person is a minor, you're, in a sense, in a weird, twisted sense, you're getting off on, underage porn. And that's just wrong. Now, that's my opinion on it. I could be wrong on that. However, I think a lot of people are going to agree with me that that is sick and that should not be accepted. So if you know somebody who is doing it, or if you are the unlucky, stupid person who is doing it, stop, get your friends to stop, and if they can't stop, get somebody else involved to get it to stop.
Okay. Was there anything else, or do you feel satisfied?
I feel satisfied unless other people have any questions or want to chime in.
Going once. Okay, I think they're done. I'd like to thank everybody for coming in. In the future, if there's anyone out there who's... Again, I'm not a medical professional, and I'm probably not going to have the advice that you will need in this situation. But if you'd like a place to vent, mi casa, su casa, leave a comment down below in the description. I'll try and get this up. I'm not entirely sure. It's currently Friday. Let's see, what's the date? The 9th. So
my niece was born today.
Oh, mazel tov.
Yeah, it's a little Sadie's birthday.
Indeed. All right, I'm going to
just remember
stop record. Good night and good luck, everybody.